Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidel.
And I'm Noina Au.
In our show this time, we'll cover recent remarks made by Suzanne Case, chair of the Department of Land and Natural Resources at the Harvard Club.
Governor Ige appointed Suzanne Case as the chair of DLNR after he withdrew the name of his previous appointee in April of this year.
Suzanne Case is a local girl. She was born in Hilo and grew up in Hilo and Honolulu. She attended Punahou, Williams, and Stanford, where she graduated in 1979. She then took a law degree from Hastings College of the Law. All this will serve her in good stead as the chair.
Suzanne is a 28-year veteran of the Nature Conservancy and served as executive director until 2015. There, she acquired a number of conservation areas and developed partnerships for forest management and community networks to restore marine resources and remove invasive algae from Hawaii's reefs and coastal areas. She is eminently qualified to serve as chair of DLNR.
DLNR's mission is to enhance, protect, conserve, and manage Hawaii's natural, cultural, and historic resources held in public trust for the people of Hawaii and its visitors, in partnership with others from the public and private sectors.
So DLNR, headed by the Board of Land and Natural Resources, is responsible to manage public lands, minerals, water resources, ocean waters, navigable streams, and coastal areas, all except commercial harbors. This encompasses over 1 million acres of land, beaches, and coastal waters with 750 miles of coastline.
It includes state parks, historical sites, forests and forest reserves, aquatic life and sanctuaries, public fishing areas, boating, ocean recreation, and coastal programs, wildlife sanctuaries, game management areas, public hunting areas, and reserves. It's a huge area and a huge responsibility.
Given the complex geography of our land and water resources and the broad scope of DLNR's powers and responsibilities, it has a number of challenges, including enforcement, staffing, and maintenance of small boat harbors, as we have seen in the media recently, and public outreach and education on issues that generate huge and passionate public response.
As we move into the 21st century, DLNR must be flexible to the sea changes in politics and public opinion. There are many balances that need to be fashioned to find a moderate center between pristine environmental preservation and community and economic development. All this falls on Suzanne Case's shoulders as the chair of DLNR, a job that has become more difficult, if not thankless, as the years go by, and which will undoubtedly become even more difficult in the years to come.
In her talk, Suzanne Case did a great job in describing the department, the issues, and her role. Now it remains that we watch, help, and support her through her administration to make sure that as the state changes, so does DLNR.
Merely to lock these lands up and throw away the key is not appropriate. This has to be a vital, organic, dynamic management of our public lands and resources. And it has to be with due regard of the public interest and for the public enjoyment by all the citizens of the state, now and for the generations to come.
Suzanne Case talked about all of this in her remarks to the Harvard Club and answered their questions ably and without hesitation.
Out of 4 million acres in Hawaii, DLNR has responsibility for 1.3 million acres. Also all of the fresh water and also all of the marine resources out to 3 miles, the territorial waters of the state. Mauna Kea obviously is something that's been in the news a lot lately. So the DLNR's jurisdiction is that we have it's state land under a long-term lease to the University of Hawaii. We have adjacent forest reserve and game management areas that we have responsibility for. The lower areas are important for habitat protection for the palila bird, the mamani forest, and so we have responsibility to control mouflon sheep that are devastating that forest. We're actually under court ordered, and then we have enforcement of our laws. The university, it's a sensitive time, and the university has the right to proceed under the Board of Land and Natural Resources decision that was made after many years of consideration. they have the right to proceed for initial work, but at the same time, obviously, the decision of the Board of Land and Natural Resources is up before review in the Supreme Court. So, as a time of uncertainty, I think people are wanting to make sure we have good dialogue. We want to, make sure people are safe. We want to make sure that we balance science and culture and natural resource protection. And so, it is a time where we're proceeding cautiously and wanting to make sure all of the voices again are heard and that we don't do anything rash. The board passed this emergency rule back in July in response to the road blockages and rocks in the road because we felt that safety was an issue there. The last Friday, the court said it was challenged. The last Friday, the court said that we hadn't adequately documented this need for public safety. So, so we are honoring that and not enforcing that rule. But there are other rules still in place under the Forest Reserve regulations and the game management areas that prohibit camping and unpermitted structures and the like. So, that's our job, is to try to manage that. Another big thing happening right now, you may have seen in the news, is coral bleaching. We have the worst year ever in Hawaii, probably in the world, for coral bleaching. Coral bleaching is the response of the coral holistic organism to warm waters, warm temperature rising. The coral expels the algae that it coexists with. That causes it to lose its color. The algae are what give it the color of different colors of coral. If the coral is healthy enough, the organisms in the water that are part of this structure can reoccupy the coral hard structure. If they're not, the reef can die. And so over time, that's going to be a really big issue because the water's going to be getting warmer, and if the condition of the corals are going down, it's going to make it harder and harder for those reefs to recover. And so what we need to do is make sure we take whatever actions we can to minimize the threats to the coral, and those are primarily onshore sources of pollution, sediment, fertilizers. Invasive algae is the first to occupy. When the coral can't recover, invasive algae will come in. And so we need healthy populations of herbivores in order to keep that algae down. That's one of our problems in certain areas, is those herbivore populations are not healthy now. And so we need to both control that algae and also to try to, reestablish the herbivore populations. Impact of sea level rise on our coastlines. And so this is something that over the next few decades is going to be harder and harder for us because, as we get sea level rise, all of this comes, it's not like it hits you on the head. You just notice changes. Obviously, this year we have an El Nino year. We had some very odd weather, and so the symptom of global warming is climate change, and it may be cooler, maybe warmer, but certainly more extremes. And I think we've seen more extremes this year, certainly with 14 cyclones in our neighborhood or whatever. From a coastal perspective, what you see then is that when we have any kind of storm event, big wave event, rain, flooding, it starts to manifest as a more organized assault on our coastlines. So we have, waves, higher waves washing over more roads, washing further inland more frequently. So just over time, we're going to see more and more of this. And one response that is going to be very tempting is to try to build more seawalls along along the water, which will we will lose if we allow that to happen, particularly in our most iconic beaches. We will lose those beaches because what is happening over the years, the decades, the centuries, and the eons is, as sea level goes up and down, is those waves are constantly building our beaches, and so you have sand, inland from where the beach is currently. If you build a wall, naturally, that beach will continue to kind of move back. If you build a wall, it'll stop there. You'll have that section of beach. As we have sea level rise and more erosion, you'll lose that section of beach, and there will be no more beach for the public to walk on. And so, if we're going to have to be very thoughtful about what we do in those cases, because it's a challenge, particularly for people whose homes are on the water and you get a big storm and their house is under threat of washing away. And it's, again, there's no easy answer to this, but it is a challenge that we're going to have to be tackling. I guess one other challenge that I think is a very interesting one, and it's difficult, is the impact of the increasing population, both resident and visitor populations on our island, and the more intense, therefore, public use of our recreational areas, and multiplied by social media now. So we are seeing this incredible increase in people who go to places that are not developed trails. They're not intended to be. They may be dangerous. They may be areas that are in the back of a neighborhood, and people want to go see something cool that's sort of off the grid or off the normal path. And if somebody posts something on social media saying, "Hey, there's this really cool place, you should go there, and here's how you get there, and here's where you park," and none of that is regulated, then we have many more opportunities for people to get in danger or to get in conflict with the neighboring people. So what we have to do is to kind of fight fire with fire. And so we're taking a good hard look at how to use social media back to try to tackle those problems. So for example, Sacred Falls has been closed for a number of years after people were very tragically killed by a rock fall. It's a very dangerous place, steep canyon with loose rocks, and it's closed. It's been closed for years. It's posted, no closed, signs say you can't go there. And if you Google it, you'll see, people say, here's, go check out this place, beautiful place, here's how you get there. There was an article I looked at this week. Somebody was quite upset about somebody rappelling into the valley from the top and making a big deal about what a cool thing that was, and very disrespectful to the people of that place, the kupuna who are taking care of that area, very dangerous and completely illegal. And so what we've done, we have a excellent communications sector, particularly in videos, is to do a short video about why exactly it's a dangerous place and why it's closed, and to post that online and connect it with a QR code, those squiggly lines, that is attached to the sign at the beginning of the trail, so that if you're smart, you'll scan it, you'll watch the video, you'll get some basic information about why actually you shouldn't go there. And the other thing we're trying to look at right now is how to, ourselves, how we might be able to go onto these websites and say, well, no, actually, it's a closed trail. It's closed for these reasons. Please do not go there. And I guess I'll end with just a pitch for the World Conservation Congress, which is going to be here in September 2016. This is like the Olympics of conservation. Representatives from countries all around the world gather every is it 6 years? Maybe it's 6 years. But it's never been in the United States. And through some very hard work of some of my predecessors, it is going to be held here in Hawaii. This is our opportunity to showcase the best of Hawaii and to engage in a dialogue going both ways about how we engage in these difficult challenges and properly take care of our resources and balance the needs with various sectors of the community. And also, it's going to be a great economic opportunity itself. We expect somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 people here. And so, plenty of opportunities for people to go out and see Hawaii and engage, from an economic standpoint. So we're very, very excited about that. We invite you all to participate in whatever way you might find useful.
I leaned over halfway through the presentation and I said to the nice woman sitting next to me, I said, she's scary smart.
I think she's got one of the biggest jobs I've ever heard in my life. I guess she's really competent and capable of handling it, but
I thought it was a very interesting overview. She's obviously very even-keeled, has no agenda, which is good. And I think will be a real protector of the land. I'm thrilled that she was the final selection.
One of DLNR's biggest challenges in the years to come will be dealing with rising sea levels and temperatures. There will be more shoreline erosion where people own property, and they're going to want to build seawalls. Likewise, there will be increasing political pressure to dedicate public lands for the homeless and affordable housing. These and other demands will be difficult challenges for DLNR and the state.
Thanks to Suzanne Case, the Harvard Club, and Architects Hawaii for presenting this talk and allowing us to attend. We are greatly appreciative for the opportunity to share and participate in the monthly discussions organized by the club.
Want to know more about DLNR and state lands and resources? Check it out at dlnr.hawaii.gov.
And now, let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech broadcasts its talk shows live on the internet from noon to 5 p.m. on weekday afternoons. And then we broadcast our earlier shows all night long. If you missed a show or you want to replay or share any show, they're all archived on demand on YouTube.
Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our weekly calendar and our live stream and YouTube links. Or, better yet, sign on to our email list and get the daily docket of our upcoming shows.
ThinkTech is a great new green screen studio at Pioneer Plaza. We invite you to come down, see our studio, and be part of our live audience. Contact me, Jay, at thinktechhawaii.com. Be a part of our civic engagement here on ThinkTech.
Go ahead, give us a thumbs up on YouTube or send us a tweet at ThinkTechHI. We want to know what you're thinking and how you feel about current issues and events affecting Hawaii. We want you to stay in touch with us, and we want to stay in touch with you. Let's think together.
On Tuesday, October 27th, ThinkTech will join with the Anthology Marketing Group to present a program called Hawaii, the State of the Arts, Inspiration for Everyone, at the Anthology Theater in Bishop Square.
The program will cover the status and prospects of the arts in Hawaii and will feature Jonathan Parrish of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra, Simon Crookall of Hawaii Opera Theater, Pamela Taylor-Tong of Ballet Hawaii, Stephen Yost of the Honolulu Museum of Arts, Yukio Ozaki of Chaminade University, and Gerard Elmore of the Academy for Creative Media.
Join us and raise your awareness about the critical changes taking place in Hawaii. Be a part of the conversation and sign up to attend on thinktechhawaii.com.
And now, here's this week's ThinkTech commentary.
I'm going to talk about the four-poster.
What's that?
Well, there's 4 posts at the foot of the 4th Street Mall, just as the 4th Street Mall crosses Queen Street. And they're old posts. They're historic posts. And they were put there when the 4th Street Mall was first developed, which was, I think, in the 70s. And they're old-fashioned design with these brass bulbs on the top. And they're taken off the kind of device you would see when you tied up your horse back in the 19th century. The bulbs, I suppose, you threw the reins over the bulb to hold your horse there. And I drove by this morning on the way to the studio. To my surprise, I found that not 1, not 2, but all 4 of the brass bulbs were gone. And now the stanchions stand all by themselves. A kind of testament to somebody ripping us off.
It's historic and it's also art. So it adds to the city and it engages people in conversation when they see it. And so it is very sad.
And this, suggests a whole number of social issues that we have to work on. So during the business day, during the business week, everybody walks blithely up and down the 4th Street Mall. But when you look carefully, you see this little piece of evidence to show what's really going on under the hood.
Not to say it was definitely young people, but if we engage the young people and get them to know that these things are important to us, that we enjoy looking at them and they're important they're important historically as well as aesthetically, then maybe they'll see it and want to take ownership and have more pride and not do things like that. Back in the day, many generations living in the same household, if we go back to that, the elders can talk to the youth and kind of they instill that pride and that sense of ownership.
There's a disconnect with the people in the community. I don't care. Somebody else will pick up the sticks on this. It's that kind of, I don't care.
Yeah, or maybe it's not even on their radar. Maybe they're not even thinking of it because their addiction is overtaking their cognitive process.
It's not just that you have to take some kid and sit him down and say, don't steal. You have to teach him about being a good citizen.
It's a good
This is
point.
very, very complex business. You want him to know enough not only to not steal, but to vote and participate in community activities and do outreach and help people, Mahayana. So if he doesn't know enough not to steal the brass knob on top of the stanchion, he certainly isn't doing charity work. And what's a little disappointing about it is that Hawaii used to have this. We used to have this. We used to have a much greater sense of community. And
I think you're right. And as well, it's a little cliche, but that whole takes a village. I think that then there was more of that, the community helping to raise the children. One person's off at work or ill or something, the other people in the neighborhood just, pick up and help. Or if they see something wrong, that they tell them, hey, no, you don't do that. And it doesn't matter, it's your parent. Nowadays, it's like, oh, I'm going to sue you, or I'm telling my mom, and then the mom wants to come over and, start a fight.
it's the latchkey problem. And it's nobody's fault except that a lot of people to pay the rent, if they can't pay the rent, you know what happens. They work multiple jobs. They're not home when the kids are coming home from school. The school is shorter hours. So the kids don't have the same kind of supervision. Nobody's there to say, shouldn't do that. It comes from the family. The family must inculcate that into the child. If you ask, you say, well, send him to school. He'll learn in school. No, that doesn't work. It has to be at home.
What are some ways that we could kind of begin to turn this around? And one way, I believe, is having family dinners, spending more time with their kid. I mean, that's such a simple step, but it's so true. I mean, and if it can't be dinner, that's fine. You know, some people have split shifts or what have you. Family, at least once a day, share a meal with your family and you know, maybe have a table topic. I did this with my kids.
It's brilliant. We've taken these very difficult problems. We haven't solved them entirely, but we've found a way in. We've found a way that is likely to have a good effect. It's a simple rule, simple to follow. All you guys, have dinner with your kids. Simple. It will have a good effect. And on a community level, assuming everybody does that, it will have a community effect. I'm
That's a
sure
good
it will.
point.
Yeah.
They can talk about what they see on ThinkTech. Ask them what they think about that.
Right. There it is.
Exactly.
Found it. Finding the truth on ThinkTech.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Okay, Noe, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Duke Oishi does. For additional times, check out oc16.tv.
For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a guest or a volunteer, a producer or an intern, and help us reach and have an impact on Hawaii.
Thanks so much for being part of our ThinkTech family and for supporting our open discussion of tech, energy, diversification, and globalism in Hawaii. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. I'm Jay Fidel.
And I'm Noe Na'au. Aloha, everyone.